Hello everybody, welcome to Red Tool House. On today's video, we are going to update everybody on our greenhouse, hoop house, chicken house, summer home, all-in-one update. So come with us. Well, we're actually excited to do this video and not be standing in the rain, right, Kel?
Yes, finally a break from the weather.
It's crazy. They mow the grass like every 2 days. So for those of you that don't know what's going on here, I'll link to a playlist that details this monstrosity behind us. But the plan, of course, was to use this in the wintertime as a winter chicken coop. And then, of course, in the warm months, move them out to get plants started, greenhouse, plant, blah, blah, blah. Well, as usual, we're behind schedule. And by we, I say me, behind schedule on this. But we pretty much decided we're probably going to leave the chickens in here. When we're shooting this, it's now June, so too late to plant anything. So we're probably going to let them hang out. And still, we're working on our mobile coop, which would be a warm weather type coop that we would move all around the farm, kind of the Joel Salatin Eggmobile concept. So we're working on that, so we're just going to let the chickens hang out here. But overall, what do you think of the assessment of this as working for the chickens?
I've been really happy with this. They have a lot of dry space now. Their other coop was not big as far as for them to hang out in all day.
You say they're kind of cooped up, weren't they?
They were a little cooped. And in here, so if it's a rainy day, they've got a huge dry place to hang out. So I really like that.
Yeah, they're kicking it. So they're like kicking chicken. They're hanging out in here when it rains. Like Kelly said, it keeps them dry, yeah. And it just gives them a lot more room to roam in bad weather. But there are some downsides.
Well, one of the downsides, and we knew this would happen, is this is their chicken yard here at the greenhouse, and we knew that they were going to eat this down pretty quickly. But we originally didn't think they were going to be in here this long. So what we've done is in the evenings, our son Liam will come out around 4 o'clock to collect eggs, and he lets the chickens out. That way they can free range, and they won't go too far, being late in the afternoon, and then they'll be close by to put themselves back at nighttime. Another thing is the water. For the chickens, we have a ditch that drains into the pasture here that we have for them. So, and like we said, we've had quite a bit of rain lately, but this has not dried up yet this year. So they've had plenty of access to fresh water.
Well, with this sacrificial area, as Kelly mentioned, we have this electric poultry netting, which I absolutely love this stuff. And it is something I'm about to touch now. It is probably the best way of all the chicken fencing operations we've done. This is the best way to keep the predators out. And you can hear that, you hear the sound of it working. You can hear this ticking. Let's see if I can get my mic a little closer here. So there's a couple places, again, our ground is very uneven, and some places the poultry netting is touching the ground and grounding out. But as long as I'm hearing that ticking, then I know it's working. I put the tester on it just the other day, and I'm getting about 7 kilovolts. So that's going to make a raccoon think twice. They actually set him on fire. The problem is there are times when I discovered, actually I came down one morning and there was signs of chicken death. There was feathers out the door, stuffed through the fence and down over the bank into the creek, and a little trail of feathers down in the creek. And of course now I've cut the grass. I've run the weed eater around it, but it was really tall in grass, and again, just neglect on my part. It had grounded out, and even our watering hole had filled up so much that it drained this way and silted in a little around the bottom of the net and caused it to ground out. Well, evidently a raccoon comes by every night and he's like, yep, it's still hot. And he got a day that it wasn't, comes over the fence, kills a chicken, takes it out. So shame on me. I had to come back and get all this tightened up again. So just got to remember to listen for that ticky noise. If I'm not hearing it ground out, even with the grounding out, I'm still getting that 7 kilovolts. So really works well. And I even have the ability to move this in a little bit. Again, with the road here and the creek there, and only having 150 meters of netting, I can only go so far this way. But if I moved at one point, I did a little little inset here. Took the fence and actually curved it in really weird like, and allowed all this to green up. And now that it's greened up, I pulled it back out, and the chickens have already eaten it back down again. So that's why letting them out every day helps too. They can get all kinds of fresh forage.
Another issue that we are having is the temperature in the greenhouse. So it does get hot in the greenhouse, and they do have some shade over at one end during the hot part of the day because of the walls. And so, but not quite enough. So that's another reason that we're letting them out. Even with the walls rolled up here on the sides, they're getting a breeze, but the heat is still pretty significant. So that's another reason that we're letting them out during the day.
Becomes a bit of a fly catch too. So when these flies croak and they fall to the ground, the chickens are all over it. Okay.
So the temperature will be great in the wintertime. With the sun heating up the greenhouse and the sides rolled down, it'll be good. But for now, they need to be out part of the day.
Well, the key point of doing this whole setup was to bring in all this wood chip. And you can see we've got tons of wood chip in here. We documented in the past the boys bringing it in with a wheelbarrow. So it really became a good base for all the chickens' poop, all that nitrogen. And what's great is, have this many chickens in here for this long. They've been in here now probably, what do you say, Kel, 3-4 months now? Probably 3 months.
Yeah.
Being there this long in one centralized spot, normally this would be a big mound of chicken poop, and it would start to have an odor to it if I didn't come in and dress it. But with all these wood chips, they're coming in and they're constantly turning. See, this piece of wood is a little bit buried there. Normally they just come in here and scratch all this out. You don't see large chunks of chicken poop anywhere. They dig little holes and they're looking for stuff. One thing I'm wondering is, should I come in and wet this at some point? Because being in the greenhouse, it's staying dry, so it gets a little dusty. So I'm wondering if I should come in and spray some water, just pump it out of the creek and spray some water in here to see if that maybe heats it up and even gets it to compost a little bit more. But it's really breaking down nicely. I think come next spring, this is going to be some great soil, especially if we can get the chickens out of it in time to let it rest and then get some stuff started in it.
Another problem since we've moved them into the greenhouse is we have not been getting as many eggs, and the eggs that we have been getting have been broken. And so Troy's in the process of cleaning out the nesting boxes. We've tried lining them with several different things. We've had this indoor-outdoor carpet in there to give it some softness so that when they lay the eggs, that just the laying process, they're not getting cracked on the hard surface of the nesting boxes. And we've not yet found something that's perfect. So what we're going to do is Troy is going to cut some cardboard pieces that fit in there perfectly. Because we've tried the indoor-outdoor carpet, we've had wood chips in here, and they tend to want to scratch that up, and then make a nest in the midst of the nesting boxes where there's nothing there and it's just the hard surface. So he's going to try to put cardboard pieces in here that fit perfectly, so that hopefully they can't scratch that out to soften the drop of the egg. But you'll notice in here we've still got to clean this out, some broken eggs, and then because of that, I think that's created an egg eater. So we've got a chicken, which we haven't quite figured out which one it is yet, but that is breaking more eggs than are already broken. So we're going to give that a try and see if that helps.
Yeah, and we've addressed the soft shell issue. Obviously, they're getting a layer crumble, so that helps. But we even have unlimited access to calcium there. You can see there's some ground up oyster shells that they help themselves to, and of course with their free range they're getting all kinds of bugs and everything. So we don't think our shell issue is a calcium issue. As Kelly said, it's funny, a lot of these chickens just lay eggs standing up, which is the craziest thing, and you'll just hear them punk kind of crack, and then like Kelly said, well, as soon as there's a yolk exposed, then they're on it, and we may even have an egg eater or two. So we're going to address that. And one thing else we're wondering, again, there's not a lot of shade in the greenhouse, so I've always been told that chickens like shade to lay their eggs in, so that may be affecting the laying volume as well, as they may be shutting down because they don't feel they can lay. I don't know. I would expect them to go elsewhere out in the woods and lay, but I've looking around. I haven't found any eggs laying out anywhere. So
maybe we can build more of a shelter over the top of this to give it more shade.
Could do that. Yeah, they are already roosting on top of that one. I need to put an angle on it like I did on that one so they don't roost on top of it. Speaking of roost, trade me, Kel. Why don't you come? You can just hold this and follow me around if you want. Speaking of roost, so our monstrosity, turn this down because it's got screws exposed. Our monstrosity roost that I thought would be clever making out of these old pool poles was a mess. Again, we did a video on that, but it's kind of funny. All those chickens on there, it's still held up okay. What I discovered is you don't have the boys go in the woods and cut green roost poles because they sag. If you come over here on this side, you'll see see how much these green poles have sagged because they just went out in the woods and cut them. So as the chickens got on them, we kind of had this catty swamper here. And so it's funny. I wonder if the middle chicken's like, I'm sinking and I hate it. But this pole over here, this poplar pole, it was the one that the boys brought that was already dead. So its cellular structure was rigid. So it's a nice firm pole. So it doesn't sag. But this is getting the job done. Again, it looks like a herd of goats. And one of these days I'm going to come down here and it's going to collapse and I'll have mass chicken death because it's some sort of tragedy. But
a herd of goats is pretty cute.
Yeah, maybe. So it's at least getting the job done for now. So our pine lap siding that we made that on the mill is weathering okay. You can see actually it looks a little morbid there. That's those streaking. That's egg yolks from where they're the nesting boxes on the back side of that wall. And so when they crack an egg, it runs down to the outside. Yeah.
Come and eat us.
Yeah. Another thing that's kind of neat that I've got to figure out what to do with it, if it's worth messing with. But you can see our plastic pole kind of has a frowny face to it, the way we rolled it up. But I've come down here in the torrential rains that we've had, and water's just pouring right here out of the plastic. So the water runs down the face of the plastic, collects here behind the pole like a little gutter, and comes pouring out down here. And you can see it's even exposed the rock. It's splashed so much that it's exposed the rock. So that, I could raise that a little bit more, take the frowny face out of it, get that end higher, catch all that, and put a rain bucket right there.
Rain catchment.
And that would be another little rain catchment. It's funny, that's why I'll leave my big wheelbarrow here. You can see this is indicative of how much rain we have. If I need to get extra water for the chickens, then I've just been bucking it out of that, because that's literally when it's coming off the trees, but that's how much rain we've had. I think I had that thing empty 2 weeks ago. So the chickens are satisfied. I moved a bunch of wood chips the other day, so I've uncovered a bunch of stuff. You can see I've actually got some comfrey right there, that chicken's eyeballing. He's probably going to lay into that. But they really like access to the green grass here. As Kelly said, they don't go far. And then they put themselves up at night. And Liam comes down right at dark, and all he has to do is close the half door, and we're good to go. We had talked about, some of you always suggested that maybe leaving the back door open the way we had, that owls could swoop in. That's still an opportunity, but we really haven't had any issues with that. We've got a lot of owls in the valley, but I've yet to see an owl do anything with our chickens. So I think it's okay leaving just that bottom of the half door open there in the back so they can get into the yard. And then normally when we let them out during the day, we've only got the bottom half door open too. I opened the whole door so we could shoot our video here. So it really comes down to everything's working well if we can figure out our nesting box situation, and if somebody keep the weeds cut to keep the fence charged. So that'll keep the predators at bay. Well, if you have any questions or comments, any suggestions, leave them down below. We'll definitely try to answer them, respond if we can, if we see them. Sometimes we don't always see them, but appreciate everybody watching. If you haven't subscribed, be sure to subscribe already. Click the bell icon if you want to be notified of our new videos. We release videos every Tuesday and Friday, right, Kel?
Right.
Yep, that's right. How many videos have you watched?
All of them.
All of them?
Yeah.
Every single video?
Right.
There's 300 videos. You've watched all 300 videos?
Maybe.
I don't think I've even watched 300 videos. I've edited them, and I don't even think I've watched them. All right. Take care, everybody.